Okay, hi everybody. We are starting today's live stream, hopefully with our special guest James Bruton. And we'll just see if we can start to get James online. Yes. There's Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Okay. Evening. Good evening. So we're just. There we go. So tonight, or rather this afternoon, we've got an amazing guest. From a personal perspective, James, I guess, pretty much inspired me to get started in building, designing, printing, watching his YouTube channel, and I learned a huge amount about everything that I do, really. James is a YouTuber, he's a maker, a massively talented robot designer and builder. So I'm going to bring James online hopefully now. As always, while we connect, any questions you've got, fire them into the live feed, and what we'll do is we will bring them on. So let's try live stream now and fire the questions up, and I think there's a little bit of excitement. There we are. I love it when technology works.
Yep, we're there first time. Look at that.
Oh,
Let me just, I'm just going to try and tilt this phone down. I've got a crazy contraption holding this on my monitor because I can't find my proper clamp for the phone. It's just. Oh.
Is it blue tack?
It's like one of those octopus grip things, but it's kind of hooked on the monitor and then.
Oh, right.
So okay. I'm just going to have to give you a view of the bottom of my face while I just straighten that up. Right, that might have to do. At all. I'll have to sit higher.
That's perfect. We can see you, or we can hear you.
Oh, there we go. Got it. Right.
You're at a good angle.
Hello, James, how are we doing?
Very well. How are you today? Are you well?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Brilliant. So, I mean, firstly, thank you so much. I know you're a busy chap for spending a little bit of time with us.
That's right,
and answering a few questions. I think the group, we've got a few guys that are coming online. We'll fire some questions up as they come through. We've got some that we'll just talk through and see how it goes. So, yes, let's understand a little bit more about what you do. How would you describe what you do, James? I mean, if somebody says, "What do you do in a pub?" What's your answer?
It depends who they are, but at the moment I am totally full-time on YouTube. So in the pub, I'd probably say I'm a full-time YouTuber. If it's the mortgage company, I'm a director of a publishing company. So yeah, it depends how you look at it. But yeah, I'm full-time on YouTube as of right now. So yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Congratulations. And then the next question, I guess, is what do you actually do on YouTube?
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't checked the channel out, I guess it's transformed quite a lot over the years. So I used to do a lot more prop building. So I've done, 3D printed Star Wars droids and things that were supposed to be something out of a movie. And more recently, I've gone into more serious robotics and doing sort of my own characters and so on. So Robot X, the human-sized bipedal walking robot. In fact, if I turn this round, you can maybe see it standing in the corner there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And currently Open Dog, which is the open source quadrupedal robot, which is there on its engine hoist that I've just bought, and the video about that comes out on Tuesday. So, and various other things. I'm doing a robot arm build at the moment. I've got some other plans for this year as well. So pretty much robotics, I do a lot of 3D printing. I've got a CNC machine, so I CNC aluminium and some wood parts for projects. Just got into welding, so I can TIG weld now. So I've been more recently using welding in projects, but only when it needs to be steel. My priority really is 3D printing for most of the stuff, and then aluminium extrusion, aluminium CNC, and up to steel if I need to make a really strong stand or something like that. So I should probably add my channel is supported by Lolsbot, who make all the printers I've got, and I've got 11 of their printers.
11,
which is the only way I can get weekly videos out really is by concurrently 3D printing parts. But yeah, as well. So we've It said trying to reconnect. Am I still there?
Ah,
I think I lost the feed there.
yeah, I think, I'm not sure if that
Am I
was me
back
or
again?
you. Yeah, you're back. You're back. You're back. You're back. Cool.
Yes, I was just saying I intend to be the most diverse maker channel, I guess. There's a lot of channels who do just 3D printed stuff, or they do just coding, or they do machine shop stuff. And my plan is to do everything end to end.
So you're
So
intensely curious
yeah,
in everything, I guess.
yeah. Hmm.
X-Robots, you've been going quite a while. How did it start? I mean, how did you get into this madcap hobby, which has turned into being a
Yeah.
full-time YouTuber?
Well, yeah. So basically, X Robots, the website, I registered in 2004 or so. So I guess I've been making stuff since I was a child, and back in the 80s, despite appearances. So originally studied electronic engineering at degree level at University of Birmingham. That was in the 90s though, so they didn't even teach us microcontrollers. It was long before Arduino and anything like that. Did a bit of Z80 assembler at college. That was about it. Then I worked in the IT industry for 20 years. Um, I had one job working for Aon, which was my last proper job, really, which I did for 10 years. And in that 10 years, like 2004 to 2014, pretty much, RepRap projects had come along, 3D printing became accessible, YouTube itself came along. I think I opened my account in 2007, and things like Arduino and Adafruit and SparkFun and all these electronics modules with libraries that are easy to link together came along. So that was, within that 10 years I worked there. So that was something that I put on YouTube. It became my hobby. And at the end of that job, I got recruited to work in a toy company because they found me on YouTube. So I did that for 2 years in the toy industry. So doing prototyping, using all those things I'd essentially been doing as a hobby.
Oh, cool.
So I had the website xrobots.co.uk since about 2004. I used to try and build humanoid walking robots. Was the original thing that was documented on there. And there's still, if you go on there now, go to older robot or older Android projects, there's still all of those old pictures. That's before anything I put anything on YouTube. I've just carried on really developing more, becoming, making regular YouTube videos as long as people want to watch them.
And what was your inspiration for all of that? Was it prop building or general?
It was originally, yeah. So the first YouTube videos that were really popular were building an Iron Man suit. So going back, 2008 or 9, whenever the first Iron Man movie came out.
Yeah.
And there's some older videos I've deleted now for my first attempts. So the first series YouTube videos I sat down and made were the Iron Man suit that took me 4 years. And the most popular video on YouTube now, it's had 58 million views, and it still does about 500,000 views a month, even though it's 4 years old. It's a video I put out in about 2014. Is all those 50 videos over 4 years of making an Iron Man suit compressed into 4 minutes. And some of the early clips in that were shot on 4x3 on an old DV tape camcorder. So yeah, that's a bit of a legacy in the channel. And obviously I've did a Hulkbuster suit since then, and the Hulkbuster build with Colin Furze. So there's still some prop stuff, and BB9E for the Star Wars eBay thing with Colin Furze, sponsored by eBay. So I still, I'm not against doing prop building, but most of what I do now isn't really prop building.
And I guess you've got a massive following now on YouTube. What do you think's, I guess, what's the attraction? What's unique about your channel? What engages so many people? I mean, is it James and his dancing robot?
Well, it's hard to say because I couldn't really advise you what to put on YouTube these days. It seems pretty random what does well. Things I think will do well don't do well at all. And some things I think, like I don't even want to put this video out in the end because it's crazy, like Henry Hoover pipe organ has 250,000 views and I've no idea why. That just got out of control with the way we ended up making the video, and it was April the 1st and I thought we'll just put it out. But yeah, anyway, so it's really hard to say, but engagement and views and everything were much better when I did Iron Man suits.
Right.
But I'm in my 40s now, so I can't really keep dressing as Iron Man until I'm 65 and retired, although it's done all right for Robert Downey Jr., of course. But yeah, so I think I'm better than, fiberglassing an Iron Man suit. Let's make proper robots, which is my real passion. So yeah, I think that the long-term plan is to make those videos more appealing to the mainstream, and obviously it's better when the robots work. So OpenDog, I think I've just put what I'm putting out on Tuesday is part 18. Some of my videos have run into 50 parts and taken a couple of years before, so that will go on in detail. But I've got some other robot builds planned, which are going to be much more compressed, simpler things that work well and have higher impact.
If we,
So
if we
I
jump
can't
behind-
really say what the magic is, but I think the Open Dog series is done quite well, but it has got all the detail in, and you can relate to the character.
Yeah.
Whereas the robot arm I'm building, perhaps there's only a niche you want to watch a robot arm being built. But if it's something that's looks like a dog or a human, perhaps that's more appealing. So I'm trying to work it out myself, basically, at the moment.
I think there's a great British eccentricity thing going on, which a lot of the British YouTubers seem to have in common. So it's really engaging.
Yeah.
If we go behind the scenes, then what's a typical week look like for you, for James, I guess?
It
Or is
depends
there a
on the
typical
week.
Hmm.
There isn't really a typical week. I mean, typically I'm working on the project, so I've just finished the next Open Dog video, and then tomorrow I'm doing some. What am I doing? Oh yeah, the next part of the flying like Iron Man, little Iron Man robot that flies like the guys from Gravity.
Yep.
So essentially, it's got EDFs on its arms, and it moves its arms around and one on its back to try and fly. So last week was quite interesting because I actually went to see Gravity Industries, the jet suit guys, to see if they could fly it because it's really hard to fly. So there's a video coming up about that Tuesday week. So that was not a typical week. That was quite a good week. But the rest of the time I was working on that, working on Open Dog, working on my background project, which is my new performance robots, which is basically multi-purpose human robotic torso project. So that's hopefully more appealing. We can do stuff with that, like, you know, thumbnails that say, can this robot cook waffles? And I want to do more AI stuff and vision recognition. So that's kind of like the next ongoing robot series. But yeah, just I typically have this concept of background and foreground content. So I'm working on the video for the next week, which might be not mass appeal, and then occasionally working on a background project. So when I did the giant Lego electric skateboard, which was 5x scale 3D printed Lego made into a skateboard that you can ride on that's electric. So I did that over several months in the background, then put out a 3-part series, which was, you know, had more views than my average weekly video. So there tends to be several projects going on at once, and a lot of 3D printing going on all the time.
Yeah, so Matt Denton just asked if it couldn't drive the Mantis, the robot. That'd be interesting. A challenge for you.
Well, I was drinking beer with Matt Denton last night, and we already discussed whether it could drive the Mantis, and we also discussed whether it could drive his car.
Okay.
So
cool.
yeah, we'll see.
Well.
But the plan is to do all sorts of stuff like that. Can a robot drive a robot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit confusing. Do you get recognised on the street when you're wandering about now as a YouTuber?
Yeah, I have done actually. Yeah, not very often, but yeah, just randomly walking through Portsmouth, or I got recognised on the IKEA checkouts by one of the people in the IKEA working on the IKEA checkout, a waiter in a restaurant, things like that. Obviously, more so at events like Maker Central and TCT Show and those places, you expect it. It's practically a queue, but yeah, it does happen.
So, out of all the builds and some of the experiences you've had with the channel, what's your favourite? What and why? I guess.
Oh well, I always say the favourite projects are the ones I haven't started yet, because once you've started it, you realise that you've done it wrong, usually, or it could be better. And that's why there's in the original X Robots website, you know, a lot of there's like 10 human-sized Android projects. Because as soon as I started one, I wanted to start again in a different way. So yeah, I guess Open Dog, you know, I'm going to try and force my way through it and make it walk at least. But there's already things now that I would completely do differently. So you never know, there might be a version 2. We'll see how far we get. Same with Robot X, I think I'll do that completely differently now. And as I discover more things, even if it's just like the O-Drive brushless motor driver, you think, wow, this is amazing, and these motors are tiny. You know, that's a really good thing to use. So there's progression in learning as you go, but also just learning how to design stuff from experience. And having that experience every week, you know, building the next piece of something.
Because the theme has always been this building the perfect walking robot. And from everything that you've learned so far, what continues to be the biggest challenge in that, or what's your, you know, what's the blocker on that walking robot compared to if you look at Boston Dynamics?
Probably my ability to write software.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, my ability to write software, which is why I started building robots in the first place, was to be better at software. I just got stuck for a lot of years on building hardware. But yeah, there's still hardware improvements that could be made, of course. But and the two go hand in hand, really. But software is what drives all of it, really. So yeah, getting better at that. If you look at the Robot X code and the OpenDog code, the OpenDog stuff's still not perfect, but it's a lot more, it's better structured. It's kind of maybe easier to tell what's going on, or at least from my point of view, I can look at it and I'm not scared by my own code that I wrote and can't remember why I did something. So yeah, that. But, I guess yeah, I guess from a point of view of making something like walking is hard. So that's the plan with these performance robots. They're two human-sized robotic torsos, but they're on steel stands, so they don't have legs. So that's something I can bring up much quicker, that we can do a lot more videos with, and also I can take to events as a working performance thing. So that's the sort of next plan for a robot that's appealing, does well on YouTube hopefully, can be at an event, people recognise it's a character we can have on a t-shirt, but you know, it's something I can spin up quicker, and then OpenDog will still go on until it walks, or we can't make it walk and we have to build it.
It is a part of the build, I guess, that raises the most questions and concerns in what we're doing around some of the 3D printed robots is electronics and programming. What's for guys that haven't touched it or even want to learn more? What's your recommendation for starting out?
Yeah, so I was a bit. I mean, I've only been doing Arduino and stuff relatively recently. So my first BB-8 that I built, which was the one where the head balanced on the ball, that was pretty much my first Arduino project. So, and obviously I would do it completely differently in terms of components and mechanics if I were doing it again. Obviously, I've built a couple of other BB-8s and BB-9E, which had the thing in the ball, the mechanism in the ball like BB-8 does instead of in the head. But if you wanted to make a robot that balanced on the ball, then the experience I've got now would be I would do that completely differently. Like the motors didn't have encoders. I was doing my own filtering with a gyro and accelerometer data on an 8-bit micro instead of using one with DMP that does it for you and just gives you the degrees. But yeah, it wasn't too hard once I got into it. I thought it's not that hard. So the Adafruit website has a lot of tutorials, and there's generally just quite a lot out there. But the Adafruit series, I think there's 20 parts that go through flashing an LED up to multitasking, how to control motors and servos and everything, and all the wiring diagrams and all the code. So a lot of stuff I do now is still copy and paste of code, even if it's from my own code, because I've forgotten how to do something. But yeah, I just say get an Arduino, get a servo, an LED, a motor driver, and a DC motor, and just go through some tutorials. And Arduinos you can get so cheap. Clone ones at least, and there's just tons of stuff on eBay. So
learn by doing is, and you're also a big
there's not really any other way to do it.
Yeah, you support the maker community, and you said you're a big supporter of the maker community, and I guess many of our guys are also. What's the best way of getting involved in that? Or the kind of meeting other people and learning.
That's an interesting one. So I guess I'm a trustee of my local makerspace in Southampton, the SoMakeIt, the Southampton Makerspace. I haven't actually ever used that space for my own projects though, so I typically go down there just to help other people. But that's a good way to share skills and get access to tools you haven't got if you haven't got a 3D printer and you want to try one, or whatever else you have at your local makerspace. But otherwise, I don't know, I guess from my point of view, I do collaborations with other YouTubers like Colin Furs and stuff, which is kind of why I started to get into welding and things like that, because I've seen what he's done. Guess that's not available to everyone, although there's a lot of maker YouTubers out there. I think at Maker Central there are something like 100 YouTubers, but a lot of them were less than 100 subscribers or whatever. So there's always a level, I guess, you can collaborate with someone. And I guess part of the thing, the R2D2 Builders Club and your group is that sort of peer-to-peer learning experience.
Yeah, and they're generally a very kind of open and helpful community as well, and they do share. I mean, obviously, I think you must get hundreds of requests, and so your time is harder to support other people. But I mean, it's that those sessions and those meetups are really useful, aren't they, for learning?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really support anyone. I think patrons are probably the only people I reply to if someone needs help. But yeah, it's hard to deal with it. So
let's jump back to BB-8. So we had Matt on here recently.
he described how he stumbled across this chap that was building a BB-8, and then obviously met you. And that first,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was blown away, because I think there's probably easier ways of building a BB-8 than trying to get the head to balance on an inert ball. But with that was the first one, wasn't it? You actually balanced the head on a ball,
Yeah.
and then so give us a quick rundown from that and how, I guess, the challenges of the BB-8, because the latest version was pretty much spot on, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was me. I suppose that head balancing robot, even though it sounds like a complicated task, if I'd known how to do it properly, it might have actually been simple, and building all the mechanics inside BB-8 with a head control arm and the magnets and everything else, because it is just it's basically a two-wheel balancing robot done twice in 2 axes with 4 omnidirectional wheels, both axes of the inertial measurement unit, and 2 PID controllers. So it's actually relatively simple. So that was the idea, was that it was cheap and stuff, because it only had 4 relatively low power motors and 1 microcontroller. And had I done it properly with motor encoders and everything else, then it might have worked properly. So I'd quite like to revisit it at some point, or at least the ball balancing robot. But then obviously from there I went up to BB-8 version 2, which had the mechanism in the ball, and it had a reaction wheel to turn on the spot, and 1 PID controller, and an internal hub that drove, and a thing that held the head on with the stick and the magnets. So that was pretty much it. Didn't have any way of leaning sideways, and that's what I put into the version 3. So that one was up and running at Star Wars Celebration in London, which was the event that Matt and Josh announced, or at least showed the internal of the real BB-8. So mine was running round there with the R2D2 Builders Club, up and running by then. And then I did BB-9E, which was done for the eBay promo with Colin Furs, where he built a TIE fighter. I only had 6 weeks to build that. So that by then I pretty much knew what I was doing to make something robust enough that it would work. So yeah, that's pretty much the progression.
Was that the same build? Was that the 9E basically the same build as the previous one?
It was. I had a budget for that, so it had slightly more expensive motors in it, and it had aluminium extrusion, so the internals were more rigid than all the 3D printed bits and pieces. And it actually ran on an axle, even though the motor ran around the edge of the ball still. So it was better, because the version 3 tended to run. It was a hubless wheel with no center, so it tended to run out of its runners, because it was all 3D printed little rubber wheels, trying to keep the middle in a track basically. But yeah, the BB-9E had to run on grass, so it had to be pretty solid. So yeah, and I had like a big motor in the bottom with a massive overpowered planetary gearbox, because there was a budget, and it had to run off road, so it had to be really bottom heavy.
And do you say you met Matt at Celebration on the BB-8s?
I originally met Matt in Winchester, as you said about the Winchester Science Festival, but that was my first version. So that was the head balancing version.
Okay. And what's Matt's thoughts on the BB-8 that you make? I should ask Matt probably.
I don't know actually. Yeah, you should probably ask Matt.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, I built all of my 3 before they revealed the internals, so not sure really. I think he said, actually, I think the only comment I remember was it was all right for 3D printed.
yeah, I can imagine. So sticking on Star Wars,
I was using windscreen wiper motors and stuff. So yeah.
Whatever's kicking around, I guess. Sticking on Star Wars for a second, you are a fan. Yeah. What's the view on the films? What's the current trilogy, the latest trailer? What's your general thoughts?
Oh, well, it's a bit tricky, isn't it, with Matt watching, because he's worked on all of them. But yeah, they're all very good. Yeah, I mean, obviously when they brought out 7, it's quite good to see Star Wars coming back and being done properly and so on, with practical effects and all that good stuff. And obviously BB-8 was a massive thing. So I was at the premiere for 8, which was quite good because of the eBay promo. So that was a good experience as well, to see all the cast and so on. And Matt was there on the red carpet with the droids, so at Royal Albert Hall that was. So yeah, it was good. Solo, I could take it or leave it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess it's not quite the same as the ongoing story, and it's weird not having Harrison Ford in. But And then we'll see what happens with 9. JJ's back, so hopefully it'll be. Well, I don't know. 8 wasn't terrible, but I think that it was too funny. Or it tried to be too funny.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in 9, but hopefully it's as good as 7. And it carries on and appeases the fans to some extent.
It's a
But
tough
it sounds
gig,
like it's
isn't
going to be a
when
big future for Star Wars with a TV series, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough gig with a bunch of 50-year-old blokes watching and grumbling about their childhood memories.
Well,
so
it's a lot of people to satisfy, so it's got to be Disneyfied, and it's everyone from kids, isn't it, to everyone who remembers the original trilogy, who was already an adult then. So yeah, it's a hard one.
So Tim's just asked a question. Have you got a non-droid favourite new creature? Oh, well, they're obviously loaded questions, these things.
A non-droid favourite creature? What, from Star Wars?
Yeah, I guess so. It was.
I think from a technical point of view, the big 6 eyes thing that Matt built was quite good. That everyone thought was CGI, but it was animatronics.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Well, yeah, I keep thinking of characters that are droids. So yeah, I don't know. Can't really think of any others, to be honest, for some reason.
Cool. So I guess all the madcap journeys over the last few years, it's an amazing stumbling experience that you've had through all of that. What's been your memorable highlights over your YouTubing period?
Oh, I suppose like the big builds with Colin Furze were pretty good. So doing the Hulkbuster and stuff like that. I mean, the build was short time scales and it was quite stressful. The same when I did, I did before Christmas a promo for Paramount as well. Will be the real Transformer. So again, that was relatively short time scales. It was about 8 weeks in total to build. Shoot for those is quite good. So particularly the Hulkbuster and the Star Wars with eBay, we had it was a proper shoot with 40 people on site with catering and medics with an ambulance, and then eBay CEO of eBay UK on site and Disney licensing, and like 2 drone operators, 4 camera guys, a sound person, someone trying to madly edit in the background to check all the takes were good. The kids in that, their parents, chaperones, children's entertainers, the official stormtroopers from Disney, their handlers. So it's a big deal, basically. So that was quite a good experience, despite standing in a cold field, for 3 days or something. It was basically a week shoot altogether. So I think those are quite the good things when you kind of feel like a professional.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's more of that coming up, hopefully more branded promos and big shoots and stuff like that. Although you've got to sort of think whether the stress of doing a short timescale build is worth it. But I guess anything that, a properly produced thing that gives you exposure is quite a good feeling.
I can imagine the licensed ones and the sporty ones, the deadlines are quite pressured, aren't they, I guess? They set a deadline and you've got to hit it.
Yeah, I mean, they're not...
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, they tend to be in that sort of fashion, yeah. Because I guess marketing departments don't necessarily know what practically it's going to take you to do. So they're always realistic, but they're always on the short side of it, usually.
Yeah. And looking to the future, what's bubbling along in that brain of yours for future projects?
Yeah, so as I said, I've talked about these human robotic torsos, so it's really that is the plan. So I get asked to go to a lot of events, and I get asked for lots of crazy things like, so there used to be in the background of all the shots, the Ultron robot that I built. So that was Ultron from, Age of Ultron, the real robot, which was a long series, and mechanics weren't as good as they could have been, but it was a fully articulated torso, and I tried to do some stuff with vision recognition and had microphones in its ears so it could hear you, and it would turn towards you, and I had this crazy virtual reality environment. There was this brain that had like random balls falling down and hitting colliders that would give it volition to do things. So I want to do more stuff like that. I want to do more vision recognition, but done properly. And these robotic torsos are metal mostly, and nylon 3D prints and stuff like that. So they're going to be much more robust, much more articulate, much more agile and transportable. So I'm hoping they're going to be quite a big event thing as well. So yeah, I get mails quite often saying, could I bring Ultron or a robot like that to a music video or a comedy performance? Oh, we don't want a Disney property. Can you make a new head? Oh, we need another set of arms so we can have a camera shot where it looks at his arms and then looks at the other robot. And oh, it's supposed to be a gardening robot that's in a robot uprising. So can you paint it green? Oh, we need it in 2 weeks. So, you know, so the plan is to say, yep, like yes, I've got these generic characters. Yes, I can be there in 2 weeks. It's however much a day, and have you know, a data interface anyone can interface to, probably DMX, which is a lighting protocol to start with. Animatronic puppeteering rigs. So like, you know how a Muppet has a stick out the back of its elbow. So I'm going to make like little versions that someone can puppeteer, and then various buttons that make the head follow each arm or whatever. So a person can control the whole thing and have 2 of those, so the 2 of them can interact, puppeteered, or you could have one that's puppeteered or whatever. Or you could record the puppeteering and then play it back with software, and do a load of stuff on YouTube. You know, as Matt said, kind of robot drive a robot by controlling them remotely with FPV, with a camera in its eye and the person wearing FPV goggles. Or, you know, collaborations with a chef or a cooking channel, like the robot kitchen assistant, yeah, as well as more AI stuff. So trying to do what I did with Ultron, but properly with a reliable robot, and do shows. So having them synced up, doing dancing and comedy routines, and synced up with lights and sounds and all that sort of thing for the times I get asked to bring robots to a DJ performance. So that's kind of the plan, really. A bit more clickbaity titles, but still the same detail in the build. So something for everybody and something for the wider YouTube audience, hopefully.
Yeah, so more ideas and time then, I guess, by the sounds of it.
Well, they're sort of, if you could see up the other end of the room, they're almost mostly built, and I'll be doing some more pictures with my own patrons soon, and a live stream for my own patrons in a couple of weeks. So I'll be talking more about those in depth and what I've got. I've posted a few teasers already of bits and pieces, but they're looking like humans. So it's basically, that's a bit of background content I've been building in my spare time here and there that will then come up in a shorter build series when it's ready. So yeah, that's not far off, and I've already got an event interested in having them in November, so better get them finished. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, right, we're coming to the end now.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Finally,
That's
I guess
right.
many of our group should be subscribers of yours, and if they're not, I would heartily recommend people to check you out on YouTube, because, as I said, from my perspective, I learned by watching you and then playing and then experimenting, and I guess it can really help others. How do people find out more about what you do? I mean, you've got a YouTube channel. Fire away.
Yep. So the YouTube channel is my own name, James Bruton. xrobots.co.uk is my website, which I sometimes update, but it's typically a link to the YouTube video and some extra pictures. Yeah, xrobots UK on Twitter and Instagram, and I think there's a public Facebook page called James Bruton or something on Facebook, if anyone's still on Facebook. But yeah, it's Twitter and Instagram, there's far more stuff. In fact, it's probably the same as on Facebook, actually. And of course, YouTube is the main output. So yeah, weekly videos on a Tuesday morning UK time, and sometimes on a Friday.
Yeah. I mean, the events coming up that you're attending?
None that are definitely confirmed at the moment, I know of. So Maker Central was a couple of weeks ago. That was a really good event, but I don't think they're doing one next year. And no, I don't think I've got anything else events-wise actually planned so far.
Okay.
Not in the next few months, anyway.
Cool. Well, thank you again, both for all of the content that you've created, and also for coming along joining us to have a bit of a chat. As always, I guess anybody wants to, I'll post some links in the group to your YouTube site, and Patreon site. Definitely, I would heartily recommend checking out the work you do, because I think it is incredible.
All right, thanks.
Matt says the Mantis gig may be back on. So what? That's good. And
right.
And also, obviously, the invite to R2 UK has come through on the feed. If you've got a bit of time in August, but it'd be lovely to see you. Anyhow,
yeah.
So thank you, and I guess we'll end it there unless we've got any other questions from the floor. No.
Happy to hang out if there's any questions. Yeah.
Yeah. James is incredible. What a fantastic statement to end in.
All right. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Brilliant. Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys,
All right, thanks.
for watching, and keep an eye out on the channel for our next interviews. Cheers, James. Take care.
All right. Cheers.
See you, guys. Bye. Bye.
Cheerio. Bye.